We got about 10 minutes in this video, so let's get tiling on this bathroom and get her all wrapped up. I am going to mix up some thin set and put the waterproofing membrane in the shower. So now I'm going to put on the waterproofing membrane. This is basically just plastic sheet with some fuzzy fiber on both sides that the thin sets can stick to. I've seen tons of showers where they just stuck tiles directly onto the drywall, no attempt to waterproof whatsoever. And within a couple of years the drywall was all rotten because the water from the shower will seep through the grout lines of the tiles. So a good waterproof membrane is arguably one of the most important steps of building a shower. So the first thing I'm going to do with the cement board is moisten it. I'll just use a water spray bottle. And the second thing, I'll be using a polymer modified thin set, which doesn't lose moisture as fast as just your regular stuff does. So let's go ahead and do that. I just have a simple pump bottle here. We're just going to get the cement board moist but not dripping wet, because if it's wet on the surface, you're not going to get a good bond between that and your thin set. If you let cement dry out while it's curing, it just turns chalky like dust. It's not strong at all. So it's very important to make sure you've got a strong bond, because you got to remember this thin set, it's holding hundreds of pounds of tiles to the wall. So if it's like chalk, it's just going to fall right off. So I'll be putting the mortar on with a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch trowel. Size is referring to the size of these teeth. Everybody has their own preference. You just basically use a fairly fine trowel. This one's a little bit coarse, but I like that because I can get a good saturation of the thin set on the membrane, and also having a thicker layer of thin set means it's not going to dry out really fast. So you get some good curing and good bond. So we'll go ahead and start. I've got a piece of cardboard in the bottom of this bathtub, so I'm not scratching it up while I'm stepping in it. So you just get out a good blob like that, trowel it on. This side of the wall's up. I'm just going to give it a quick spray down with a little bit of mist, just because the surface of the stuff tends to dry out while it's sitting there, and when that happens you don't get a good adhesion to whatever you're trying to stick to it. So just quickly mist it down, let it sit for a second, and then I'm going to throw the membrane up. Sure that you're not getting any bubbles between the wall and the membrane. Now we can just use our trowel, just kind of work that on. You want to make sure you don't cut the membrane though. One of the tricks to putting this stuff on is mixing your thin set just a little bit thin, a little bit watery, just so it spreads out nicely when you press this membrane on. Now you can see how the layers of waterproofing overlap each other. You got these side ones that are one piece across the angle. These overlap by about 6 inches on either side. And just like shingles, we start from the bottom and work our way up. So the next roll will overlap like that. The next step in waterproofing the bathtub is to put a bead of silicone between the back edge of the bathtub and the waterproofing paper. Well, I've been at the job for about 5 minutes, so I think it's time for a coffee break. While I'm doing that, we'll have a little chat with the boss here. So boss, what do you think about the job so far? And what are your favorite tiles for showers? If you had one tip for doing tiling, what would it be? Using these porcelain 1-foot by 2-foot subway tiles. I've got a choice. I can put them horizontal or vertical. Yeah, honestly they would look good in either direction. However, one thing to consider, if you put them horizontal, you'll be cutting every single row. Whereas if they're vertical, put 3 side by side, they'll be exactly the size I need them to be. So that's what we'll do. Less work for an end product that's just as attractive. So here we are, ready to start tiling. First thing we'll do is make sure our crosshairs are actually where we want them to be. I like the laser much better than using a pencil, because when I put my mortar up on the wall here, I'm not going to be covering up the pencil lines. General rule of thumb with tiles is the bigger the tile, the bigger the notch in your trowel. I think this one's a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch notch thereabouts. So that's just a thin coat, just to make sure the tile's going to adhere to it properly. So I noticed that I put my trowel lines on the back of the tile itself. It's a lot easier to do this while the tile is laying horizontal than to try to get these lines on the wall, because you just have stuff constantly pouring off the wall and slopping all over your job site. Now that we have the tiles up on the shower, we can turn our attention to the tiles on the floor. Before we do, we're going to do one last bit of waterproofing that's often overlooked, and that's the bit of the floor that's right in front of the tub. Every time people get in and out of the shower or the bathtub, they're slopping water all over the floor, so we're going to make sure that's not going to leak through to the wood underneath. You can see in the toilet alcove here just how we've kind of bordered the area with the tiles. The center line here is directly in the center of the alcove, so you get a nice even spread of tiles around the sides, and you get the same thing happening here with the bathtub. Tiles here and here are the same width, and again the grout line is right in the center of the tub. Well, that's it for this episode Upgrade My Downgrade. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button, and I'll check you next time.